Debt is not the enemy. Ignorance of debt is the enemy. Debt is not a condition. It is a relationship. And like every relationship, what determines whether it blesses you or destroys you is not the relationship itself. It is who holds the power inside it. This is Mammon's version of debt. But in the ancient Hebrew system, debt was a covenant. It was a relational bond that carried moral weight, communal accountability, and divine oversight. The Torah contained an entire legal architecture governing how debt could be issued, how long it could last, how it must be forgiven, and how it could never be used to permanently subjugate a fellow member of the covenant community. The modern world has handed you a loaded weapon and told you it is dangerous without ever teaching you how to aim it. So you do one of two things. You avoid it completely out of fear and surrender the most powerful tool of leverage in the financial world. Or you pick it up without instruction and shoot yourself in the foot, in the wallet, and in your generational legacy. Neither response is wisdom. Neither response is Solomon. Solomon understood something about debt that took the modern financial world 3,000 years to accidentally rediscover. He engineered systems that kept him permanently in the seat of the lender, the ruler, the one to whom obligation flowed. It was the precise application of the Hebrew debt code. This is exactly what Solomon did. Every loan, every alliance, every trade arrangement Solomon constructed created a web of relationships in which others were bound to him, serving his economic infrastructure while believing they were simply conducting business. And rather than trying to acquire these things through purchase alone, Solomon structured an arrangement with Hiram of Tyre that was a masterwork of covenant debt engineering. This was a multi-year obligation structure in which Hiram's kingdom became economically dependent on the annual provision from Solomon. Hiram needed Solomon's grain more than Solomon needed Hiram's timber. The obligation flowed in both directions, but the leverage rested entirely with Solomon. This is the weapon, not the debt itself. The leverage that debt creates when it is structured by wisdom rather than desperation. Because you have been living on the wrong side of this equation. You have been the one creating dependency in other systems, paying rent that builds someone else's equity, paying interest that funds someone else's empire, making monthly payments that keep you permanently obligated while the lender sits in Solomon's seat collecting what Proverbs told you belongs to the ruler. He did not create the debt of nations. He positioned himself as the entity to whom nations became obligated when they needed capital during crisis. He sat in Solomon's seat. He was the lender, not the borrower, not the servant, the ruler. He did not simply try to own the most oil wells. He controlled the pipelines, the refineries, the distribution infrastructure. Everyone who produced oil became dependent on Rockefeller's systems to bring their product to market. He turned the entire American oil industry into a network of obligation flowing toward Standard Oil. Proverbs 22, verse 7, in corporate form. He was the rich ruling over the poor, not through oppression, but through the strategic control of the infrastructure everyone else needed. Now we arrive at the practical application, the principle of productive debt only. Solomon never borrowed to consume. Every obligation he created was attached to a productive outcome. The arrangement with Hiram produced a temple. The fleet arrangement produced 450 talents of gold from a single voyage to Ophir. Every deployment of obligation in Solomon's economy was tied to a multiplying asset, not a depreciating one. The modern application is surgical. Debt attached to an asset that generates more than the cost of the debt is a weapon. Debt attached to anything that does not generate a return is a wound. A mortgage on a property that produces rental income greater than the mortgage payment is Solomonic.